Okay, on to game 4. Karpov playing white, kicked off with d4 to knight f6, c4, g6. We have a Grünfeld variation again after this g3. Bishop g2, bishop g7, e4. The knight goes to the queen side, b6. Knight e2, all like the 30-minute games. d5, castles, castles, e6. So black's biting at the pawn chain. Karpov supports d5 like he did before with knight e c3. Now knight a6. a4 was now played. So potentially binding black if black ever wanted to play b5 one day, but also actually probably more relevant actually is to drive away the knight on b6, which is seen as one of the worst pieces potentially in black's position. Black played knight b4. The knight at the moment though can go to c4 and maybe even like to d5 later or d6. So bishop e3. Here Kasparov played bishop d4 again, so he's relying on this tactical idea that if takes, there's knight c2. But Karpov took anyway and played knight a2, so this is also possible. Knight takes, rook takes, and it looks as though white's slightly better out of the opening here. This bishop, might be a problem piece if black did take on d5, knight d5, there's queen d4, and then maybe rook d1. White's got maybe an uncomfortable bit of pressure, and Kasparov, he played e5, maybe slightly controversial, giving white that big passed pawn. Knight d2, a5, queen b3. Remember, it's only 5-minute chess though, so although they are legendary players, at 5-minute chess, I wouldn't expect immense quality because they're not active grandmasters at the moment either. So they're just legends, and it's kind of a nostalgic match. They're recreating this Blitz match. I think the longer time controls actually will be far too grueling and probably less exciting for spectators. I mean, really, they just wanted to celebrate this culture that 25 years ago they had these mammoth matches, which are part of chess history and culture. So f takes e, f takes e. The rooks came off. The king must take, otherwise d6 is going to be nasty. Knight f3. There's an uncomfortable nagging edge in white's position here, especially because of knight g5, and potentially this rook can come to the f file to harass the black king. So knight d7, and there's also this queen a3 move, so it's undermining e5 if you can get rid of that defender. So king e7, now the rook comes to the f file, and Karpov doesn't mind the doubled pawns because he's got very good pressure. This bishop's still blocked in at the moment. So knight g5, and this is starting to be really unpleasant because of things like knight e6 and knight f7 and maybe rook f1 as well to the 7th rank. So Kasparov dropped a pawn here after the check. He's a pawn down. Although the knight's sort of seemingly trapped, Karpov gets it out quite well now, just by playing rook f1 with the planner of h3 and g4 and g5, because the knight is useful for eyeing f7 for supporting rook f7 check. So we're seeing that plan in action now. Karpov is trying to generate some counterplay. Sorry, Kasparov is trying to generate some counterplay, but loses another pawn. I mean, he's losing this quite badly. Bishop f3, and this pawn's not really that dangerous because white's picking up so many pawns in the process. If d2, well, actually there's rook b1 as well. But maybe even knight g4 is becoming dangerous just to win this pawn. So d2 and knight g4 in fact was played. So preparing just to set the bishop to get these big two passed pawns in the centre. Bishop c2 was played though, to at least try and get the e4 pawn. After knight e3, white's significantly better though. I'll check the position, just cunning resources with Rybka, and white's like +2. But here I think Karpov, he unfortunately, or when he played his move, I think his flag must have fallen as well. So he lost, I believe, on time. But he's got a great position here, and it's really winning for white, I think. Let's have a look at in overview and summary. So they're repeating what they played in the 30-minute games, with slight deviations, and showing really these some other possibilities. So taking on d4 and knight a2. So although the rook was slightly awkward, white had good pressure now on black's structure, and he accepted double pawns, and the f-file was kind of dangerous for black. And now he went a pawn up. After getting a pawn up, he's also starting to win another pawn, and this d pawn, although dangerous, I think Karpov was prepared to just sack the bishop. If this has been relayed correctly, I think this bishop sack. Let's have a quick check on that actually, just to make sure. If d1, white has an advantage, I think, according to Rybka. So even though he's like a piece down, bishop takes, knight takes e5. There's two big passed pawns here in the centre, and right, let's give an example. Bishop c2, knight d7. So now if bishop e4, there's knight c5, bishop takes e4, knight c5. So if that's the case, the pawns are marching. So say rook d6, knight c5. The pawns are going to start marching very soon. So rook b2, or are they king f2? I think they are. The king can come and herd them. If we can get to d4, there's adequate compensation. I just wanted to check that myself, what was going on here with this piece sack. So Karpov had played knight g4, but now after knight e3, the pawn is not even queening, so just white's clearly better for nothing. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying this. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.